The reason why certain states and certain politicians, they lean into the immigration is because
they needed that little shove.
Ironically, all three former Democrats.
You can run and be on the Democratic primary ticket and the Republican primary ticket.
The area where I was at, it was a coalition of us coming, all Republicans, but it was a conference essentially. The things that are going across the country kind of blew my mind.
Thankfully, we have a great group of commissioners in Southwest. Yeah. They're doing fantastic work.
What do you think makes you more qualified than like your opponents, who you're going against? What makes you more qualified than them?
She's a higher ranking manager in Johnson & Johnson.
The government motto, they keep saying, oh, we need to spend money for this to help this. And then they'll spend more money and somehow everything seems to decline.
There's a school board director that's sitting, current school board director that's not running for re-election that was appointed.
We love names, George.
His name's
There we go.
Welcome back, baby. Back to the Not Everything's Black and White podcast. Today we have our first guest, which we're super excited about, George Rivera here, school board nominee for Parkland School District. George, for the last 23 years, has been an assistant restaurant manager and general manager and managing partner, which to me shows he knows how to allocate funds properly, which he'll get more in detail on later. George has 3 children and a wife. To me, having children while running for school board is a big deal to me. It means you have skin in the game because you actually, you're going to prioritize children's needs and things of that sort. George is an America First patriot who wants to serve his community by bringing fiscal responsibility back, present transparency in curriculum, and generate parent involvement, which are all 3 huge things. From our first question, well, it's really 2 things. First, give us more background on actually who George is, right? Because I think everyone needs to hear that. And also, what inspired you to throw your hat into the ring of politics? Because politics is a dirty game. It's not easy to do. It takes a lot of courage to do, for sure. Even when I was scrolling on your Facebook, I saw real fast a post that you made where someone even went into your yard, ripped up signs, and cussed at your kids and things of that sort. So you could touch on that as well. But for the first question, who's George, who you are, and what inspired you? What made you want to do this?
So I grew up in Connecticut. I was born in Bridgeport, Connecticut, rough city, similar to Allentown. The suburbs were the suburbs, the urban areas were the urban areas. And then I moved to Shelton, Connecticut, much nicer area. That's where my mom raised myself, my brother, and my sister. I'm the oldest of 3. And she put me in a lot of, groups and programs to keep me busy. Like I was an altar boy, I was a Boy Scout, played sports, kept myself busy, and just stayed on, a great path. Fast forward to being an adult, I decided that the restaurant industry was for me, so I started as a dishwasher back in 2002. Became a manager in about 1.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and that same restaurant.
Crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, that same restaurant where I was a dishwasher, I was a general manager.
Wow.
Ruby Tuesday.
Oh, great.
So it was back in the day when they had like the salad bar.
And that's when Ruby Tuesdays was. That was
great.
Ruby Tuesdays was
pudding on the salad bar. They had
You're talking about 40-minute waits on a Friday.
Yeah.
I remember those days.
Yep, it was good. And then one of my very good friends started working for this company called Darden Restaurant Groups.
Wow.
And then I was hired by them, took a step down, had to work my way back up. So I earned my position as a managing partner. And I've been managing restaurants for Longhorn in that facility, that capacity as a managing partner since 2012. So I've been doing it for 13 years now. I worked in Queens, Long Island, Wilkes-Barre, now the Poconos. Really excited to be with that company.
You're where the action is at. One of the things I want to add too is George is a fellow Tea Party member, so I want to get a little bit into that too. Locally, outside of his candidacy, he's also involved, and you've been doing that for some time too, from my understanding. So I want to dive into that.
Yeah, so it's crazy how that you brought that up. Mary Ann, who's with the Tea Party, I went to a soccer game where my son goes to school. He used to go to school at Bethlehem Catholic. And her son went there also. My brother-in-law was with me. He was wearing a patriotic sweatshirt. She was like, oh, came over, talked to us.
That's how they got me too.
Yeah, I don't know if the conversation turned into, Hillary should be, arrested, and she's like, I know.
Might be happening soon.
Yeah. She might have called it early.
So, she invited me to a Tea Party meeting. I met the chairman of the Republican committee. He got me involved, and
nice.
4 months later, I was running for school board.
Wow.
Director. This is in 2023.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, to answer your second question, what inspired me? So, growing up in Connecticut, in my opinion, you're conditioned to be a liberal. It's a very blue state. You're inundated with representation, poor representation, hyper taxation, very corrupt. The city where I grew up in Bridgeport, they had botched Democratic primaries. It was just a disaster.
Wow.
So there's like different core memories that I have throughout my life that made me think that like God was like talking to me to get involved politically. I remember when in '88, when I was in first grade, it was Bush and Dukakis was running, and we had two lines. Like people that were for Bush were in one line. People that were in for Dukakis was in another line. I went with George Bush because my grandfather named my father after George Washington.
Okay.
Because he's very patriotic. When my grandfather came from Puerto Rico, he joined the service as part of him becoming a citizen.
Awesome.
Yep. So I went with George Bush. So the teachers' aides who lived in like the cushy cities around Bridgeport, they're like, why are you for George Bush? He's a Republican, right? He's a Republican. Republicans are old, rich white guys. They don't like you.
Yeah.
This is what they said to me.
Yeah.
At what grade? At 8 years old.
Which is one of the things I wanted to dive in. I'm glad that you touched on that because based off your contemporary, it's something that I faced. Now, I think I'm coming in a different time where there's a wave, right? Based off the last election, we see that there's been kind of a change amongst young Latino men, based off of the numbers, and everyone agreed on that, CNN across the board, but young Latino and then young African American men. I would like you to touch on that.
Sure.
You were doing it at a time when it was even more stark contrast.
So that's a good point. So what I think for me and for a lot of people that are similar to me, what we discuss is, well, the Democratic Party is not aligned with our personal values. In my opinion, you can't be a Christian or a Catholic and be a Democrat.
I agree.
You can't, because how can you align with a party that can't even define what a woman is? Period. Right? So they used black and brown people for so many years. For so many years. In my opinion, that's why they killed MLK. Yeah. And who was the other guy? Malcolm X. Yeah. That's why they murdered him.
It's interesting that you touch on that. It's something that we've spoke about earlier on the podcast, prior episodes. But yeah, when they were both coming to the conclusion that the way they worded it was the white liberal, but that was just an overview of the liberal progressive mindset, is how detrimental it would be. And saying that they foreshadowed all the things that really transpired after.
Right, and when you go back and look at it, it wasn't about empowering a group that was a certain color. It was about bringing everybody together to point back at the government and say, you guys are the problem. There were certain people in the
And in turn, in my opinion, how I feel about it is they used the plight to utilize us as mascots. And I still feel that way today. I mean, a lot of people are waking up, but I'm glad that you touched on that point.
Right. So, and then the other part of it too now is they've gone away from that. It's a failed, like they ran that play for so long.
They can't do it anymore.
So what's the play now? It's illegal immigration.
Yeah, that's why they want no IDs to vote.
Correct. The reason why certain states and certain politicians, they lean into the immigration is because they lost a black and brown vote.
Right.
So how are they going to keep their numbers up? Their numbers, their power, their districts are based off of how many people in their districts.
Yeah, you don't need to be a citizen. Census is based on the total population. So you could be illegal, you don't have to be a citizen. That's how Democrats win these.
I want you to explain that a little deeper, because it's something that I don't think people.
Yeah. So,
I thought many people knew that, and then during the election cycle, I realized that people weren't aware of it.
Right. So, for instance, like California, right? If California got rid of their illegal population, Democrats would lose tons of seats, maybe even I think 10 to 15 seats they'd probably lose just in California alone if they were only counting citizens. So the thing is, they use the entire, like you said, the census uses the entire number of people. So it's not fair. It's actually voter fraud without it technically being voter fraud. It's really corrupt and shady, to be honest with you.
It's a perversion.
And that's why you're seeing this stuff. I know you've seen the news recently with the redistricting things, and they're going after Republicans. Republicans are trying to kind of play the game that Democrats have played for decades, where they're redistricting to get seats, and Democrats all of a sudden don't like it when they literally, for instance, California. I think California won 4 seats. We only won 4 seats in California, I think, this past election. Republicans got 40% of the vote. Yeah. Somehow they win only 4 seats and get it, because it's the way they district it. They just draw a line on a map. Yeah. And they're like, this is a district. Okay, they got 1,000 votes here, and Republicans got 800. Okay, well, it's a Democratic district now. It's shady. It's corrupt, honestly.
Well, if you really want to, especially for the viewers at home, if you want to understand it, I think when we're explaining it, you can kind of get the breakdown of it, but you should look up, it's gerrymandering, but look up the way Chicago does it. Look at the districts in Chicago and see the way that they're formed and shaped, and it's just the most bizarre thing on the map.
Yeah, like I said, so literally they draw lines wherever they might get a majority vote. That's all it is. It's literally cheating.
Yeah, and that kind of segues us into the next part that I want to go over with you. I kind of want you to go over the process, right? So when you're in which I think is commendable, Rocco led off with that. It's a really small group of people that have, the courage, I think, is a big part of it, because you face a lot, especially as a Republican candidate who comes from a Hispanic background and not your contemporary. There's a lot of challenges there, and I want you to kind of go over maybe some of the logistics and the process of how other people out there could do what you do and run.
So before I go into that, I want to talk about really what inspired me.
Yeah. Get
absolutely.
back to that. Circle back. So, the weave right there.
That's the most important part.
So it's like a lot of people, I was fed up with, what's going on in our country. It's the biggest thing for me is how we allow this government just to take and take and take and take from us without the proper representation. Before you even profit off your own prosperity of working, you don't make money until April. Technically, it's 60% all in taxes. That was the first thing. The second thing, you see a lot of things socially happening. They're coming for our kids. They're going after us. There's medical tyranny. There's financial tyranny. There's tyranny everywhere, and we need more regular people to step up.
I agree.
And get involved. And you have these politicians. They sit in these seats for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. That's
unchallenged.
Unchallenged. That's the most successful thing they've ever done in their life. And they come out of these positions worth hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. So, but what inspired me to be a conservative and to run for office, it all started back in 2017 when I was driving to work. When I was living in Connecticut and driving to Queens, I drove over the Whitestone Bridge every day. I just happened to be listening to AM radio, and it was Donald Trump's inaugural speech. And at that time, I still had it registered registered as a Republican. I knew that I had conservative values, but I wasn't I was on the cusp of.
You weren't ready yet. Yeah, you needed that little shove.
Ironically, all three were Democrats.
Take the red.
I got you.
It's programmed. You've been programmed.
Yeah. But I heard him.
Like you said, as an 8-year-old, you literally been programmed since 8 years old to be a Democrat.
Right.
Blue, no matter who. Go ahead.
I heard him speak, and it was the first time as an adult I heard any sitting president say they want to make this country great for everyone. And when he first won, my wife's registered Republican her whole life.
Wow.
And she said, this guy's going to be great. I said, this guy, he's going to be a bozo. He's a reality TV star. He's this. But then when you actually dive into his policies and what he says, and you think about who he was, and he was in every single social circle, he was accepted culturally, and now they're going after him. He's standing in between right and wrong. He's standing in between, what's wrong.
Establishment people.
So that just got me thinking I'm a conservative. I have to do more. Fast forward to 2020, I think a lot of people, that was the breaking point for me. Just the way that the country,
COVID?
Yes. The way that the country was managed. That's what really inspired me to run for office. That's the first chance I get, I'm running for office. Just think about it. Church was closed. right? Target was open.
Yeah.
McDonald's was open.
McDonald's was open.
Small little restaurant closed.
My restaurant, I had to like wipe down every single table after everybody got up. You put the mask on, you go in the restaurant, you sit down, you take the mask off, you go to the bathroom, you put it back on the COVID.
So ridiculous.
Only to find out later that it was all a ruse.
all bullshit.
Look at who became wealthy because of it.
Exactly.
Biggest transfer of wealth in our country's history.
That's what really got my mind thinking like I need to get involved politically to
It takes a lot of courage, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So the process of running for office is you have to fill out certain campaign finance forms. You have to create a committee and fill out a form to take funds on your behalf. You have to have a chairperson for that. You have to have a treasurer for that. Then you have to get petitions signed. So based off of the position that you're running for, there's some that are like only 10 positions you have to get. For some positions like commissioners, like 100
signatures.
Yes.
Fair.
Yes.
Okay.
And they have to be registered in certain parties. You can cross-file in some instances. For a school board director, you can cross-file. I chose not to cross-file. I'm just a Republican.
You want to explain what cross-filing is?
Yeah, I wanted him to do that for sure.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even know that till he told me about it.
Yeah.
Right. So
It's very common in this area.
yes, it's very, very common, and it's a situation where you don't want to be fooled. You don't want to be fooled. You can run and be on the Democratic primary ticket and the Republican primary ticket. So if you get the right amount of signatures and they all check out, and you have to have a circulator circulating the positions that's with the registered party that you're trying to get signatures for, you can be on both ballots. So if you have a Democrat who's cross-filing as a Republican, you can have a progressive liberal running as a Republican.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it happens often. And as you can imagine, it happens both ways, but it's a very one-sided, from my experience in politics, especially locally. The Democrats utilize that strategy far more than the Republicans do.
Correct.
It's a common strategy.
Yeah, and if you look at these politicians that do that, they're all beholden to the Democratic Party. I actually pulled the Democratic committee finance form today, and all these Democratic politicians that try to cross-file and get Republican votes, they all give their money to this committee.
That's crazy.
That's where it always goes.
Yeah,
it's one of the main things that we talk about
so
here.
Think about that point. It had me thinking. I called someone after I did it. I said, it gets you to think that these elected politicians, where are they getting this money from?
Pay to play.
Is it from their donors? Is it from their taxpayer funded job? So where $1,000, $2,500, $3,000, and it's all of them. It's Pinsley, it's Schlossberg, Susan Wild.
I like that we got the names on there.
It's all of them.
Yeah.
It's all of them. So
Yeah, no, and it's super important. And that kind of segues to the next part. How I think about it, especially for what George is running for, he's running for school board, and it doesn't get the attention that it deserves. If all else fails, to me, that's the one thing that needs to be protected at all costs. The taxes and all those other things, it kind of goes back and forth, and those are very important. But what George is doing, I think, is pivotal, and especially coming into modern times where these perversions have been let into the school, and people think it's not happening. I'm fresh up coming from DC for like a month ago, and the area where I was at, it was a coalition of us coming, all Republicans, but it was a conference essentially. The things that are going across the country kind of blew my mind. Some of the things that are going in Virginia, and a lot of the people, ironically, were from the Northeast corridor, where it's super liberal, like the New England areas. And some of the things going on in the school district kind of blew my mind. And I kind of want you to touch on the contrast between you and some of the people that are currently in these positions. From my understanding, the current Parkland School District School Board, it's very lopsided with the representation. What is it, like
7 to 2?
Right.
And the 2, it looks like, from what I've researched, they vote party lines with the other.
Correct.
Okay.
9-0.
Yeah, that's okay. I wanted to make sure I got that right. I actually got that from Rocco, my statistician.
You got that 100% right. So as a school board director, it's very important. So to your point, it's very important that you pay attention to these local elections.
Most important thing.
I think that, if you look at what's going on in like Whitehall and Allentown, where people are upset about paying more for a garbage pickup and more for taxes, they should have paid attention to who was getting into office.
Can't be a Monday even quarterback.
Yeah.
Got to get in the game.
Exactly. If you would have had the right person, would they have missed the email like in Whitehall about the trash?
Yeah. Yeah.
Would they have paid attention to the contract? They would have went to meetings.
Yeah, I think it's a plan. I think they don't want people to be involved. They give you as little information as possible so you don't get involved. Because if you did get involved, who would ever vote Democrat around here? Nobody would. So they do as little as possible to get people involved.
Right. So the school board directors, they hire the superintendent, who in turn hires all the staff.
Wow.
Think about that.
I didn't even know that.
Think about that.
I wanted you to touch on that. Like, what exactly does a school board do and control, and what policies do they have to say so?
A lot.
Yeah. Explain like some of them. Give like 5 of the top ones.
So
or something.
the one that I wanted to really dive into or really like highlight is the superintendent. Do you know how much a superintendent makes?
I'm going to say at least 120.
$100K.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. 150, 240, I heard.
Wow. At the high school level,
Right.
you saying
That's
a lot
crazy.
prefaced it for me to know it was there, but
And then even when you fire them, they get the sweetest.
severance.
Oh my Lord.
Wow.
Well, I want to be a superintendent.
Even under, yeah, wow. That's amazing.
Get in there and hire
It's
me.
crazy. So
It's like you're hiring the head coach.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
So that person is basically like the CEO of the school district. You're not doing everything, but you're creating the culture within the school district.
Absolutely,
sure,
yeah.
for sure.
It's equivalent to you guys. I look at it. You're the GMs, right, or the back office, and then you're hiring the whole coaching staff to go out there and perform.
Right.
I mean,
That's a huge deal. I don't think a lot of people know that.
Huge deal.
And I want to put an emphasis on this too. You need to pay attention to your local elections even more so than you pay attention to national elections.
Correct.
I know everyone gets in like all fired up and all excited when the presidential election's going on, but local elections affect your day-to-day way more than a national
Close
election.
range.
It's not even close. So get involved, get educated, you know what I mean? Learn things and just get involved. Like take action. If you're upset about things being a certain way, like he said, your garbage bill going up, your property taxes going up. What was it? Parkland got 4% hike for property taxes?
Yes.
4% hike in Parkland School District property taxes. So if you're upset about all these things, take action, pay attention, vote. Vote the way what hurts your pocketbook at the end of the day is very, very important. Way more important to you locally in these local elections than it is nationally. Not that like I support Trump in a lot of things he's doing, tariffs, trade deals, all those sort. But your day to day is way more affected on these local elections.
Yeah, your county commissioner, your local commissioner is more important to you than the president at times.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because there's in South Whitehall, thankfully, we have a great group of commissioners in South Whitehall.
Yeah.
They're doing fantastic work. They're wonderful. But we don't have a mayor of Whitehall. We don't have a mayor of McCungie. We don't have a mayor of North Whitehall. There's commissioners. There's township supervisors. Those are the ones that levy the taxes. And then you go all the way down to the school board directors. In addition to hiring the superintendent, they appoint a board attorney.
Wow.
So why is that important? Why is a board attorney important? Because that's the person who's going to be the go-between to make sure that are we representing the Constitution? Are we supporting the Constitution, the Bill of Rights? Are we potentially putting ourselves in a situation with a liability? So that the superintendent and the attorney are beholden to the board because they want to keep their jobs.
Yeah.
That group of people decided to hire.
And one of the things that I take from that is I think it's so interesting because it's essentially like you're I guess the best way I can think of is like an analogy to kind of place it is it's equivalent to the president when they are appointing Supreme Court justices because my thought process is they're going to be there a lot longer than you're going to be there.
Correct.
So it's important, right, to put the right people in those spots.
They're getting paid.
Yeah, and they're getting paid handsomely.
They're an expenditure on the budget.
Wow. Yeah. That's super
crazy.
interesting. Yeah. I didn't,
And just to say this, school board, you don't get paid for it,
No.
correct? Okay, yeah, I knew that, but I just wanted to clarify that because some people think you do.
yeah.
No, you
So
don't.
I wanted to clarify that.
That was actually a misconception for me too. I was only made aware of that maybe a couple weeks ago.
You vote.
Certain districts do, right? Or is PA not?
I'm not aware of anyone,
Okay.
any director position in the state that gets paid.
Okay.
But you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you do vote.
That's good to know.
Yeah, you do.
So he's doing this basically, taking the courage to take this step and do this to basically better the community at the end of the day. And I want to ask you this: what do you think makes you more qualified than like your opponents, who you're going against? What makes you more qualified than?
My overall, what I do for work.
I agree.
How I've worked my way up. And I'm also hands-on in the business. I do something where you get revenue. So we get $6 million a year in revenue.
Wow.
Increased double-digit percentage of the year and a half that I've been there. So I increased foot traffic, I increased revenue. I've also increased profit, right? Because revenue feeds your ego, profit feeds your family, okay? So hands-on every day, I'm working inside this business that generally makes me an entrepreneur. It's not mine, but I run it like I own it. I could very easily just let things slide and just stick with the status quo because I'm dealing with a $6 million a year budget.
With a lot of moving parts.
And what's the budget for school board, if you don't mind me asking?
$234 million.
So bigger budget, but at least you have experience on allocating money and making decisions.
Yeah, flowing money.
Right, which your opponents don't, correct?
Do
you know what they do for a living?
I do.
Okay.
David Hine is a fiscal.
I like that he knows.
I like that he knows. That's important. You got to know your competition.
Alyssa Beckwith, she's a higher ranking manager in Johnson & Johnson.
Okay.
John Macklin is a homemaker, and Matt Wyman is a teacher.
I almost laughed.
So
big pause.
So none of them actually.
I almost asked him what it was.
So none of them actually. Their job is to ensure that at the end of the day, there's money left over.
Right.
They're just in position.
They're just
and I'll say that's one of the things that I experienced in politics, which I thought was super interesting. I realized that being amongst, especially locally, there's a group where it's like super wealthy, right? The people that are involved, that run for positions. And then there's another subset of people really that haven't accomplished anything.
Correct.
And they kind of just continue. So that's why I really wanted to have you on, because I mean, I think I support you in the way you have handled things up to this point. But also I think that you're the right man for the job, and having somebody there that can budget. If we're being honest,
I think that's
there's two parts that I think about it from a perspective of what the principles are going to be and how are you going to address it, and knowing that you're a conservative, valued person, mixed coupled with the fact that you are fiscally responsible and you have a track record of being able to do it. One of my things that I get, it burns gears in my brain of seeing people that are in these positions that have not accomplished anything prior. And I think that happens a lot because of lack of participation.
Well, if you think about where we're at as a district financially, my biggest gripe I have with them is the overspending.
Yeah.
So if people want to understand how much they're paying more,
that's all government does.
Yeah, it's crazy. Take.
But that's what happens when you have people that don't want to manage things properly.
Right.
Yeah, they don't know how to manage things, and they don't care because it's not their money.
And there's not enough transparency.
And like he said, he treats his job currently like he owns the company, even though he doesn't, which is what you want. You want somebody in that position that's going to be allocating these funds for the school to feel that way.
Right.
To feel like I'm doing, I'm going to take care of this as if it's coming out of my own pocket.
Well, I want to touch on what you just said and get back to my other point, but the reason why I focus on running the business, my business essentially, so intensely is because I have 65 people that depend on me to be great.
There you go.
Well, personal excellence is the ultimate example or the ultimate way to create a great culture, whatever you want it to be. So if I'm mediocre, right? What does that say to my people if I don't show up looking my best?
It sets a precedent.
If I walk past a standard, if I walk past someone speaking inappropriately or using a sexual innuendo or doing those things that they do in restaurants or anything, wildly dropping a plate on the floor, whatever it is, and I don't coach the behavior, what am I saying to them? In addition to that, if I don't run my business top notch, they're not going to make money. So what are my best people going to do? They're going to find something else. I pay more money than everyone else. My people have the best quality of life, and I just focus on my people.
We call that at the Not Everything, not the podcast. We call that radical accountability. That's something that we talk about a lot.
Right, and I think that's missing. So that's why it's so great to have a person.
And I don't think that anyone that's currently on the school board now or
has
people
that
are running
experience
can say that what I do every day, whether I win or lose, it affects a handful of people. In
There you go.
The 4,000.
Right. They're just a clog in the system, basically, at their jobs. Like with or without them, it's just going to run as it is. Basically, the coach, like the leader. You know what I mean? You set the precedent for everybody else to be great, which I think is a big deal in that position.
So, back to what I was trying to build on with the taxes and the transparency in that. There was a Lehigh Valley News article where it said the average home in the Parkland School District was $245,000. Where? Upper Macungee's $450,000.
Yeah, I was like, where is that?
North Whitehall's $475,000. South Whitehall, where I live in, is $395,000. So in order to understand how your taxes are going to go up, you take 0.00068, multiply that times the value of your home, and that's how much your home is going to go up. And then where I live in South Whitehall, that's $268 a year. That's $323 a year in Upper Macungie, and about $360 in North Whitehall.
Wow.
And that's if your home's not valued at like $1 million.
That's crazy.
There's a pocket in North Whitehall where the homes are valued at $1 million. You're going to go up 1,000.
Yeah.
So I don't like that in society. The more you make, the more
they take.
Yeah.
I don't like that. And I don't like in our school district that we continue to raise taxes. We have a general fund. It has $15 million in it right now, about 12 to 15. They're going to take 30% of that to make up what we're short based off this new budget. So this new budget that came, they presented like, it's $234 million, but we're short with what?
What was the budget prior? Do you know what the budget was prior?
$222 million.
So they added that much. They added that
$10
much.
million, $12 million swing.
So the solution was to raise taxes and to take from our general fund to deplete our general fund.
Wow.
So we're still short.
And they're still short.
So one of the school board directors, I sat in a budget seminar that was about 7 hours.
Wow.
And the only thing that I heard that resonated with me, the only smart thing someone said, in my opinion, was, let's say we do it just 3%, right? I don't understand why we need to raise taxes at all. He said, we're going to raise it 3%. We're still going to be short millions of dollars. What's the long-term plan to fix it? I'm like, yeah. And then the two school board directors were jumped on him like, what are you talking about? This is just pushed them down. And he talked so far over their head, they thought he meant taking from the arts, math, and science. That's not what he meant.
Wow.
What's the plan to fix this so we don't have to raise taxes and we fix this forever? That's a great thing. As a leader, that's what you need to do.
Yeah, you need to figure out a way to budget it and not just kicking the can down the road and to keep increasing taxes and, like you said, depleting those funds.
Correct. So once he got a chance to kind of articulate on this point, they jumped on him again and he kind of just threw his hands up. So later on, I went up to him. I said, I want to just commend you. I hope that I get on the board to work with you. And I'm like, why did they do that? He's like, that's just how they are.
And that's the problem. Status quo is not acceptable anymore.
And to your point, it's what you said before about the difference between myself and the other gentleman that's running, that's a Republican, David Caruth, is we actually have experience being professional problem solvers, ensuring that at the end of the day, our constituents, all the stakeholders, they leave with more than what they had before. Now in a school district, the goal is not to make money, but it's not to go red.
Yeah, you don't want to be in a deficit.
You don't want to be in the red. And in addition to that, with the amount of money that we pay per student, they have $16,000 per student.
Wow.
Why is the high school not proficient in science? It's 53%.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that.
Which is unfortunate. Wow, that's kind of surprising.
48% proficient in science as opposed to 81%.
And I bet you if you look at that 20 years ago, they were much more proficient and you spent a lot less money.
Correct.
So that's like the government motto. They keep saying, we need to spend money for this to help this. And then they'll spend more money and somehow everything seems to decline. And everything in life, not even just school, healthcare, everything. You know what I mean? It's like the more money they spend, they all get richer, but the results go down the toilet.
Correct. You're adding fluff.
Exactly.
You're adding fluff, and
you're just hiring administrator. It's funny
that you say that because since
Yeah, how many administrators they hire?
12 for 76 students a year since then.
That's insane.
That's a lot.
That's insane.
That's a lot.
There's no need for that.
In addition to,
so that should be where the budget cuts are coming from, in my opinion. Not not art, not math, not school, not sports.
Administrative.
Right? Administrative state. These people who are put in these places to, like you said, 12 for 76 students.
yes,
Yeah, that's
76 students a year.
Wow.
yeah, that's outrageous.
Yeah, there's 2 assistant superintendents. There's a business administrator. We paid in 2023 to have these people. I don't even know if they're local, to come in and tell us that we need to make adjustments because we're getting too many students in. So why do you need to pay someone to tell you have
like a consultant?
Consulting.
Yeah. It's all
in the room.
They hire their buddy. They hire their buddy as a consultant. Like, it's just
or that. Or
this actually making me angry hearing
at the national level. I think it's that, but I think even worse at the local level. I don't know what's more egregious. I just don't think that they have the skill set to be able to do that. Correct. I think they spend money in such a frivolous way because just like. It turns into a slippery slope.
If hearing this doesn't alarm you and make you want to get involved and pay attention, I don't know what else.
It's a call to action more than anything.
Because one of the roles of a school board director is to manage facility. Mm-hmm. So you manage facility. Wherein, as being some of these jobs that these people have, do they manage facility? Yeah. There's a school board director that's sitting. Current school board director that's not running for re-election that was appointed.
We love names, George.
His name's David Elowich.
There we go.
He's actually a committee member for the Lehigh County Democratic Committee.
All right.
He funded these liberal activist groups that helped get some of the current school board directors elected. Wow. And also contributes to the group that's helping to get them elected now. So if that's not a conflict of interest, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, that's insane.
But he didn't run in 2023. My opinion is because he knew that we were gonna smoke him, because before that he had some type of lawsuit against him because he gave financial advice based off of his political affiliation or afflictions. Because he said, well, Donald Trump's the president, you're not going to want to invest. And then these 2 people that invested with him lost money. So he's he
made financial advice.
Correct.
Based off of political ideology.
And he's a current school board.
See, this is what I mean. That's the kind of people that you have to steer clear of. Yeah. Where there's no common sense, there's no result. It's not result oriented.
Yeah, let's say it at the camera.
Yeah, we're gonna put that at the bottom. We want to definitely make sure he's not involved. Now let me ask you: do you think he didn't run because he was afraid of the smear campaign?
Potentially.
Okay.
And then I saw a video clips of him yelling at a former school board director, where to the point where a local representative had to come in and scold the entire school board. Wow. For how they were conducting themselves. It's on YouTube. You can look it up.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Definitely. Just let our viewers know that too.
But my point of saying that, all that is, as a school board director, you have to have acumen. You have to have all these different attributes. You have to be able to understand and articulate and get to the root cause of things, because you're responsible for a lot of things. Mm-hmm. You're dictating, and you can affect policy, procedure,
taxes,
the way that we discipline students, graduation requirements.
Right.
That's huge.
Do you want someone sitting on that board saying what's required for graduation that doesn't have a sound mind, that doesn't understand? You have to seek to understand before trying to be understood. You should focus on the behavior and not the person. And you need to ensure that all constituents are being served properly. You don't serve social issues, but you serve the greater good. What's the most wonderful thing about this country, which is you can be here and live in this country and be amazing. You get a great education. We're number 7 Parkland School District in the Allentown metro area, which is Easton, Bethlehem, and
Number 7,
which is really, really good.
Yeah.
Why are we number 1?
I'm surprised.
I always thought.
I figured Parkland.
Whenever I thought of Parkland, I always thought top.
Exactly. Why are we number 1?
That's actually surprising. Yeah.
Well, it's because what I mentioned before, the lack of proficiency in science. It's the lack of proficiency in math. I'm sorry, in science, in the high school and math.
Yeah, you
in
said
middle
50-something%, right?
Yeah.
50%, and
Okay.
then also the graduation rate.
Do you guys have the authority to like change curriculum as a school board director, or
you have a say in the curriculum.
You have a say in it, okay.
So you bless certain curriculum.
Okay.
You can adopt certain policies. So there's things that
do you have an issue? Let me ask you, do you have an issue any of the current curriculum currently? Do you know, like anything currently? Do you have an issue with anything they're teaching or any programs they have?
No, the only thing that I would dive into is why are we not proficient in those two areas?
Right, and figure out the reason why.
Yeah,
figure out the cause.
PSSA scores have gone in the wrong direction.
Right.
And we have a 93% graduation rate in the high school, which is affecting our ranking. Right, which is what people they Google and they look us up.
93%.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But what are we doing to get
decent.
another 50 basis points, another 0.5%?
There we go. Yeah.
What are we doing to ensure that?
That's the things that should be a priority.
Right.
You know what I mean? And hearing from you, that would be a priority of yours. Is that the number one priority? Like getting these kids higher graduation, getting those numbers up,
Yeah,
and also allocating the money, right? The money in the proper way.
Allocating the money and ensuring that when we make decisions, what are we doing to support a great education for our children, which is the future of our country and our communities, and are we giving the teachers the resources to do that?
Yeah.
Because there's a big part of the budget is salary.
Right.
Me personally, I wouldn't want to come for teachers' jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure that we, like the business administrator in a Lehigh Valley News article said that we need to cut hourly positions. We don't need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people that work in the district say that we're top heavy. We're top heavy. So I think we need to look at that and just make some tough decisions in that area.
Yeah.
It's taxes, and making sure that we have a great education for our kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes into what we were talking about prior. I kind of touched on it, but when the people don't have the skill set, it's automatically either throw money at it or make very bold,
That's all they do, yeah.
bold decisions that will lead to like I said. I love that you implemented that into as well, because I think that's what people's first thought process is: where the cut's going to be made, and will it be with the teachers?
Sure.
And the fact that your thought process is more surgical, right? We can address it in a different way is great, and I think that's what divides you from. I like with you, and we got to a little bit to discuss with George prior, but I like the fact that he's a Republican, he's a conservative, but he's much like me and Rocco, where if there's something outside of party lines and we don't think that it makes sense, or it's not common sense, or if it's something that's just morally doesn't make sense, you don't support it. And I love that part about you as well.
100%.
I think that's super important, because I think in modern times both parties are so galvanized that people get locked in, and I think that's the worst thing ever.
There's people that hear you're Republican and they won't even listen.
Yeah.
Even though you're way more common sense, you probably agree with them on 99% of things if they actually took a listen. I mean, you just said it. Even when you when you wanted to get involved in politics, or you thought about it, you listened to Trump for the first time, you thought he was a buffoon. If people listen to you without the R attached to your name and just listen to what you have to say, I don't really see how anyone could disagree with it and wouldn't want you as the candidate for the school board, honestly, over these other people. I mean, I haven't spoken to them, but I mean, what you're telling me and what I researched on them, I mean, I don't see how you're not like the perfect fit for this type of job, to be honest with you. I have a real good question.
Sure.
How would you handle a situation like COVID, and what's your opinion on how you think it was managed? Because I think that opened so many people's eyes up to the school board.
It was managed poorly.
Yeah.
It was managed poorly. The fact that so many people, so many students and families, they went to charter schools, they went to private schools, and they went to homeschools. Think about that.
Yeah.
They got pushed to the edge so far, and they lost so much hope in the education system that they give their money to, that they decided to, I'm just going to not work, teach my kid. So there's that. The other part of it too is to tell someone that they have to put a piece of paper on their face to go to school. What that dictated whether or not you can go to school was also not right, in my opinion. How many kids that died from COVID, just of COVID?
0.
Can't think of one.
Okay, so that's
what are we doing here?
Even the CDC has said, revised this, that they've said 0 kids have died that had no comorbidities.
If you go back and
0.
Go back and look at everything on the CDC website and everything that came from Harrisburg, what was that R word that was in everything? Recommendation. It's a recommendation.
Yeah.
Mandates and recommendations shouldn't supersede the Constitution or the Bill of Rights, and we did that. What happened to HIPAA?
Yeah, and I think that
you can't go to school or you can't work if you don't have a vaccine. But before, you couldn't even like talk about stuff in the elevator.
Yeah.
So it all went away. So I feel as though
That's so true.
I feel as though that it was poorly managed. If it was up to me, I would have kept the schools open.
Yeah.
I would have been cautionary. Like I would have done it with caution because you don't want people dying.
Yeah.
No one's saying that COVID was fake. But when you go back and look at the morbidity rates of people that died just of COVID, it's same as every single virus.
Yeah.
Across the board.
SARS, bird flu, swine flu, everything.
Listen, I was, me and him both, but we were huge proponents of like, against everything they did during COVID. I mean, just as an example, when my family was in fear of it, like my sisters, my mom, everything like that. I remember having this conversation. And
I went up to the gas pump with gloves on, like I was afraid to like breathe air.
See, I was the one. See, this is what I did. So I'm a research person. I'm a statistic person, right? So the first thing I did is I started looking at.
Up in a landfill in Central Park.
I started looking at the average age of death, right? And right away, it was like the average age of death is the same. I think it was 78 years old. Right off the bat, 78 years old was the average age of death. So I'm like, 78 years old, let me look that up. So 70 years old was literally the life expectancy in the United States before COVID. So I'm like, so the people that are dying of COVID are like the people that are already probably going to die anyway, unfortunately, right? Maybe a little bit faster, things like that sort. You know, obviously I sympathize with them. But basically I was arguing with my family. My family would send me like these hyperbolic like headlines like, because I was the person that like I wasn't following any of the guidelines. I didn't wear a mask. I was still going to the gym. There was one gym open. Shout out to Supersets. They were the only ones that were open. And he like just opened around that time. So I left the Northampton Rec Center, which I was at because they shut down. I went to Supersets, right? I was still going to the gym. I was still going to work. Wasn't wearing a mask because I looked at the statistics that the average person that was dying was 78 years old, right? And they would send me like these hyperbolic headlines like 30-year-old pregnant lady dies of COVID. And I'm like, and then I would like read it and I'm like, well, the lady had like issues with her pregnancy. That's why she died.
Conditions.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't just of COVID. So whatever, I was like arguing with my family. I literally told them, I said, listen to me guys. If this is the end of the world, say it's the end of the world, we're all going to die of this virus, right? I'm going to live my life anyway. I'm going to live my life. This is what I said to them literally. I said, I'm healthier than all you. I'm saying better shit. I said, if it's taking out 30-year-olds, I was like 30 at the time.
We're all
if it's
done.
taking out 30-year-olds in their prime peak like condition, then we're all going to die anyway.
It's
what are you going to
over.
do? Stay in the house and curl up in a ball?
Exactly.
So that was literally my position on it. And I mean, I stand with that. And I've been kind of like proven right. I mean, look at the...
Well, think about it. They say, well, like we care about your health, right? So they told you, stay home, don't get sunlight.
Everything opposite of your health.
Cover your face. Like have children covering your face where you're breathing in your
They were
own
shutting down parks
excrement all day.
for kids. The kids couldn't even go on slides and swing on swings.
They covered the basketball.
It was the most diabolical thing I've ever witnessed in my lifetime.
The aha moment was, so I worked in Queens for a while, so I met a lot of people, and I had a lot of people work for me. And I was Facebook friends with someone who was EMT in the boroughs, so she was busy. She messaged me, and I wish I saved the message. She said, they're telling me to code everything as COVID. If someone's dying, they're coughing.
Yeah, they got incentives. We found that out later. They actually got money if they counted like the amount of COVID deaths. They got an incentive. The hospitals actually got an incentive. They counted as a COVID death.
And that's the part I think for me that made it the most egregious. Not only was it completely wrong, right? And in hindsight, we know that now due to depositions, but it was the way that it was presented, and at the time they knew it was incorrect information.
Right.
For me, COVID was on a scale with everything. So like you mentioned it, how many kids died or had severe injuries based off COVID in comparison to how many kids fell off the scale and were completely backlogged with their schooling, right? Or how many small businesses closed.
Depression, anxiety.
The amount of turmoil it caused, and specifically like even for like minority communities.
Correct. Or the one thing that in Parkland School District that's a big drain on our budget is charter schools. I agree that, I think that, there's arguments where the money should follow the kids.
From a logistic perspecbe, right?
Yeah, the money should follow
Now, do you agree with that?
As far as what?
Like, because I'm not gonna lie, I am a big believer in like school choice, and I do believe that is beneficial, and I think it would create competition and have these schools actually do better with the curriculum and do better with the test scores.
But there's more to it, though.
Okay, go ahead.
More to it.
So you can dive into a little bit.
Yeah, there's more to it. So in the charter schools, they drain public school budget. Okay? Unfortunately, what's come to find out, and it's factual, you can look this up, they're using the money to, instead of using it for a better education where they score worse than public schools, they're using it to advertise and create people to want to come to their school.
Wow.
Then they're paying for like box seats at like sports stadiums and things like that. So
yeah, and they try to recruit like the best kids
Correct.
in each, like they'll go to like, I know like certain charter school in Allentown, they'll take like the Allen's best basketball player, like, you know, I mean, they kind of take the best athletes and tell them all to go there. Yeah, that is true.
So my point of bringing that up is because of how COVID was managed, my opinion is that they pushed people towards charter school. They pushed people towards private school.
I agree.
I tried to get into one of the elementary schools with my two young ones, but to get into that school, to do like, I want to tour the school, I want to talk to the teacher, I want to see where my, like, a part of me is going to be for 7 hours a day.
Yeah.
Right.
Plus my taxes pay for this.
Yeah.
Right.
So I want to see what's going on.
Right.
We couldn't do that.
Wow.
You know, so that was during, you know, COVID time. So
I want to reiterate that point, though. I was completely unaware of that. So there's funds that are set aside, allocated for these private schools, and instead of utilizing it for education, right, or to enhance programs, they're utilizing it for advertisement purposes to sequester
Well,
in
he is right.
more
Charter
students.
schools don't do as well as
Now
public
there is
schools
no
in scoring.
there is no stipulations on the. That's one thing, because I'm with Rocco. I kind of like the school choice thing, but when you present it like that, that's something I don't think many people know about. That's super interesting.
I wanted a certain education I want my kids to have a faith-based education.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
a certain part of their life. Now my oldest one, he's got that. He's got good morals. Now he's in
Parkland High School, right?
He's in public school.
And your other two are in.
I wanted a different education, so I paid for that myself.
Right.
So I feel as though if folks want a certain education, you need to pony up.
Yeah.
And I think that if people want a public education, I think that we should not. Parkland School District shouldn't be losing. I think it's like 1.5, almost $2 million a year to charter schools.
Okay.
But they need to look at themselves and say, well, what did we do to create?
Yeah, there's obviously a reason people want to escape from that public school society.
Get them back, right?
Right. You have to do better. That's why, like I said, I kind of like it, but I know what you're saying, but like I almost like it because I think competition is always better.
Agreed.
I think when there's competition, it's going to make these schools clean their act up. They're going to stop doing the certain things that they're pushing. Like you said, COVID pushed a lot of people away from public schools. Everyone wanted to sign up to private schools,
better or for
Catholic
worse.
schools. Virtual.
Because
like,
I do see
and
that.
like you said, people were literally willing to quit their job so their kid didn't have to sit with a mask on in school.
Or get vaccinated.
Or get vaccinated.
Yeah,
they were literally like, I'd rather homeschool
and
my
that's
child,
one thing I wanted to touch
I applaud
on.
them. I mean, good for them that they took that initiative to do that, because honestly, they were right. I mean, it was nonsense. They shouldn't have caved. They didn't cave, and they probably did the right thing, honestly. I mean, it might have set their kid back, but you know what I mean?
And that's one of the things I want to touch on, because I do appreciate that thought process, and it's sad that we've come to that position where people feel like they need to take their kids out of the schools. I'm just interested to see what kind of effect that has long term, and that's why this issue is so nuanced. And even with you, I appreciate your perspective from the stance of the way we talked about the school choice thing and how they allocate funds. It's another chance where it's like we need to get back to community. I feel like we've gotten in this era, and we've been, now that's top down, but we've gotten in this era, and that's the part I hate. If I'm being honest, I'm really a libertarian. I think that lowering taxes, right, getting back to community instead of having 100%. These ideas where we're going to feed the bureaucracy. The bureaucracy, all it takes is 2 people, right? If you have 10 people on a committee, it takes 2 or 3 to corrupt it. It takes 1, right? So
I want to touch on that too. I know when like people think corruption, they normally think like, you know, big government, national elections. But can you give us some insight on how, like, if there's how things are corrupt even in these type of elections, and even like these shady small elections? Like, is there any corruption you give us some insight on? In particular.
Yeah, there's. It's very interesting. You know what goes on.
Subtle.
In the county.
Very subtle.
It's very interesting when you make that choice to go down that hole, and to start peeling back the onion. It's what a tangled web we weave. It's very, very interesting. You know, like I said before, we have a sitting or school board directors helping a certain group of candidates get elected. I've never seen the folks that are running that are new and not the incumbent. I've never seen those folks at a meeting. Never seen them at a meeting. Not once.
So just like importing people into it's not organic at all.
I asked one of the
handpicked.
I asked one of the incumbents. I'm like, where are these people from? Do you know anything about these people? He's like, oh yeah, they speak up at like PTO meetings. I'm like, John, he's a stay-at-home dad.
Yeah.
Like, good for him. Like, the guy drives a Tesla, he's got money. Yeah. You know, but he's, you know, I've never seen him at meetings.
Yeah.
You know, the other gentleman, Matt, he's a teacher.
Yeah.
At a different school district. I've never seen
at a different school district.
Right. And then the same thing with, you know, with Alyssa Beckwith. So it's very interesting that these folks were the chosen ones.
Yeah, handpicked.
Correct.
Yeah. For some reason.
Yeah. There's a school board director who's doing
It's very interesting.
a sitting school board director that was just elected in 2023. He's running he's doing an in-kind donation to run their website, and is doing all their advertising on Facebook.
Well, I always say Democrats have one thing, and especially in modern times, and as time goes on, it becomes more true than ever: marketing and mechanics. It's not results, and I think that's a big part, and that's why, I mean, really, we started the pod is to be able to get information out there. I think they do a great job at that. Things are kind of changing. The uprising of some of these independent podcasts rather than mainstream media is kind of helping cut through some of the fat.
Yeah.
But I think most of the things we covered today, I think it's going to be news to a lot of people. I mean, if I'm being honest, some of it was even news to me. And I've been involved in politics for the last 3-4 years.
Yeah. How have your opponents attacked you in this process? If they haven't, how do you think they will?
So it's been very quiet as opposed to 2023. I was called every ist that there could be. Extremist, you name it. Book banner.
I thought liberals had a philosophy that minorities can't be racist.
I thought so, but it was.
Yeah, I'm automatically a racist, unfortunately.
I was in North.
He's blacker than me. That's our inside joke.
I was in North Whitehall Township at the polls in 2023, and a member of the Lehigh County Democratic Committee came up to me. He's like, why are you doing this? You're pushing Donald Trump. This. I'm like, whoa, buddy, what are you talking about? I'm here on the behalf of
I'm here for my child.
Look at your cards. They're the Republican color. Your party is. I said, no, man. Your party's racist.
Yeah.
You're the ones that. But you look at you. You're supporting Donald Trump. I said, buddy, what are you talking about? They're black and red. I said, sir, these are Parkland School District colors.
Yeah. Get a grip, brother.
That's how, like.
I like that you had your slate flyer. I saw it. I posted it last night to our socials, and I like that you had it split like that. You had both. I like that. But yeah, no, I want you to continue. Yeah, that's interesting.
So, in addition to that, the local Democratic committee was also very adamant about ensuring that their base knew that we were the extremists and we were the ones that were going to destroy the schools, and we weren't about, you know, special groups and all these different things, which is not the case. Yeah. Which is not the case.
There goes a marketing ploy.
And how I think that they would attack me would just how they spin everything nationally. Like, do you want Doge in Parkland? Do you want someone that's not going to ensure that the social issues are at the forefront as opposed to ensuring that?
Or you want somebody who's going to fire teachers? I'm sure that got tossed in there. It's like the budget cutters.
Yeah, that's why I'm glad that you basically said that you wouldn't do that, that you wouldn't cut salary.
Right.
So I hope everyone heard that.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's what, and I don't think it's going to be the candidates that are going to be attacking me. I think it's going to be
the media.
These not even the media, because the local media has been very good.
Really? That's good to know.
Yes, but
who in particular?
The folks from the Morning Call.
I was about to say I read the piece in the Morning Call. It seemed fair. I mean, they asked you that one I saw that when they asked you that LGBTQ and about the illegal immigration about kids, and you said I would just follow federal policy, which
you don't have a choice.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Which I thought was a great answer, but it's almost they were trying to get you to say something. I think that they, because I looked, they didn't ask other people. I don't think. They asked another person that, but some other people they didn't ask them.
Right, or they chose.
So I was like, exactly. So I was like, oh, that is kind of weird they asked them. So I looked at it, but that's nice that they've been fair to you. I mean, that's surprising.
They've been really good. It's just that those committees and groups, they're the ones that do most of the attacking.
Yeah. And
some of the candidates that were running in 2023, they were telling people they're going to be bringing books and doing all these different things. So it's part of the game.
I went to a event at Brookside, and I was sitting with a lady who won prior. This was she was in years ago. I think she ran around like 2016, 2017. What she was telling me though is that they ran like a $100,000 campaign ad against her, and I was like, for school board, it kind of blew my mind. I know every race is a little different based off who the incumbent is and things like that.
Can you touch on that? How much was the cost to run your primary
this year?
Yeah.
I spent about $1,200. $1,200 to $1,400. Most of it was, out of my own pocket,
which I love to hear. See, so it's like you can do it, right? You can be involved, and that's a cost that's feasible. Especially
my opponents, they spent about $3,300.
Yeah.
So you spend half and won.
Right. Right. And what's interesting is the folks that funded their campaign. Susan Pack's.
Mm-hmm. Very familiar.
Susan Wild's PAC. Mm-hmm. Michael Schlossberg.
Okay. Here's a question. I asked my wife to ask some of her coworkers. So
sure.
They wanted to know, what do you think is parents' biggest concern today in school? And what do you think, I'm not sure if Parkland has this, but how would it be after school programs and help with care for parents? So like, how would that be allocated in the funds? Would you do it? Do they have aftercare at Parkland? Like for school? Okay.
They do, yeah.
Okay, so that's already in the budget, so you don't have to worry about that. And I guess they were just asking, what do you think is parents' biggest concern? I feel like, they see the news. A lot of people on social media see the news. They see like a school shooting, things like that. I mean, I know that hasn't happened in Parkland ever, I don't think. But no. I feel like that's like on parents' minds a lot of times. That's another reason why I think because they always on social media doom scrolling, and they see like a shooting here or whatever happens here, and it's a lot of times it's not even sometimes not even the full story. I mean, with school shootings, most of the times it is, but they'll see something and then it's like, oh my God, I'm worried to take my kid, and then sometimes they even put their kids in private school for that, or like a charter school for that, because a lot of it is at public schools when you see that type of stuff.
Right.
So is there anything you would implement for like extra safety in the school or anything like that?
Well,
or
I know that currently we have a resource officer at the high school.
So it's like a cop at all times?
Yeah.
See, I like that.
Yeah.
I love that.
I think that should be implemented at all schools. And when I've kind of like spoke about this with Democrats before, liberals before, and they actually disagree with me. And I'm like, well, you tell me you want your kids safe, but then you don't want the cop at the school.
What's the best thing? What's the best defense against a bad guy with a gun?
There you go.
Exactly. Like, right? And I'm like, why would you not want a cop? Oh, then you're making it like how is that like a prison? It's not like a prison. Do you want your kids safe or not?
Mm-hmm.
You have officer.
I think two cops.
It's like a prison where you gotta have a mask on.
I went to Whitehall
and stay 10 feet apart from each other.
And I was fine. I actually had two, I think. So like, I think there should be really two at each school, which I don't have an issue with. Yeah. Like, I don't have an issue with allocating my taxpayer money to protecting our kids with, like you said, resource officers at schools. I don't see how anyone would have an issue with that. Instead, they're hiring 20 administrators.
Yeah.
I think that based on, so my team and I, we got to 5,000 doors since February 18th. A lot. And the biggest concern I heard at the door was to focus on special education. A lot of students, a lot of parents are upset about how students with special needs are treated in the school district.
Yeah, we covered the explosion of the autism rate
in Parkland. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've covered autism on our podcast.
Yeah, they're very concerned with how that's handled, and they feel as though the fact that the business administrator was talking about cutting some of these hourly teacher positions.
And that's an expanding problem.
Right. Well, the problem is we were given these ESSER funds for COVID, And
now they're expiring.
now that's gone. It's been gone.
Yeah, okay. It's
What
been
do we
gone. I
do?
didn't even know.
It's interesting that our budget shortfall coincides with the amount of ESSER funds that we got.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it shouldn't have ever.
It's just
Yeah.
crazy.
The fact that you're aware of it, though, I think is important. Well, we're going to put a pin in it there. I do want to give you an opportunity, though, to let the viewers know how they can support you.
Sure. So if the best way to reach me is George Rivera for Parkland on Facebook. That's plain and simple. Just go there. I do want to mention that the deadline to register for vote for the November 4th election is October 20th. The deadline to request an absentee ballot is October 28th. And vote for me. I'll be a great choice for school board director for Parkland School District.
That's what we like.
Yeah.
You can't complain, right, about these issues and be in the background. We talked about it earlier. Politics is the most important sport in the world, right? This affects your kids directly. We went in details and explained to you the importance of it. This is a call to action for you to get out there and vote and participate. And hopefully down the line, we have people like George that step up to the plate, right? We got enough stay-at-home dads. We need some real men out there who are willing to step up to the plate and be accountable and take care of our kids in the future and the next generation. So,
Yeah. I agree.
bam.